Explosive in the moment, conquer the opponent. Give it all your energy and own it. Man to man, hand to hand, last to stand. Who will grand champion? Invoke the best in me. Step to immortal ground. Fulfill your destiny. This is the final round.
We are live at Royal Farms Arena. Baltimore, Maryland, Shogun Fights 18. Another great night of fights await us. Justin Schlegel joined, as always, by John Rallo, the man that makes Shogun Fights happen. Shogun Fights 18 promises to deliver another amazing night. John, why don't you go ahead and walk us through this upcoming fight?
Here we have Brandon Mason out of Method MMA fighting Damaron Kirby from Evolve Academy in Gaithersburg. Damaron is a veteran of the Shogun cage, fought for us multiple times. This is Brandon's first scrap in the cage. Brandon, they call him the skyscraper. This guy's like 6'4", 6'5". So going to be a huge size discrepancy here. Now, Brandon, I've been told, is more of a jiu-jitsu guy. Like, his jiu-jitsu is pretty slick. But with limbs like this, you know, I think you better use that range, and man, he could be a danger.
Is there anything more frustrating to you as an MMA coach, fighter, and fan when you see someone they're blessed with range and doesn't use it? Like a Stefan Struve in the UFC, a man who's had an arm the size of a battleship.
The dude's almost 7 foot.
He's almost 7 feet tall, and then more often than not, his range doesn't come into play in a fight.
Yeah, man. Well, there's only so much room in that cage. And here, nice takedown already.
Nice.
So, you know, you have a 24-foot hexagon here that you're fighting in. And it's hard to establish range, you know, just for general knowledge purposes. The UFC's cage, first of all, they trademarked octagon, so nobody else is allowed to use one. But their octagon is 30 feet. So that's an extra 6 feet all the way around, and that's a little bit of room where you can try to establish your range. So in a smaller cage, I like it because it forces the action.
Yeah.
But it might not be to a striker's advantage because he doesn't have as much room to work. You know, right now Mason is in half guard. Damaron has him in what's called a lockdown. If you see the way his legs are triangled and he has the ankle hooked to Mason, now you let it go because he's going to try to get up here.
All right, he's powering him up.
Yep, Damaron
back to the feet.
Going to be the stronger of the two. Again, very experienced guy. Being shorter, you saw what his plan was, is to close his distance and get inside where, you know, Brandon can't hurt him.
Oh, wow, I think he connected something there.
He
Brandon backed up quick.
Cracked him. The other thing I think Brandon could work on, being as tall as he is, man, if this guy clinched and started throwing knees,
he can move him wherever he wanted to. He can move him into his knees as he throws.
Yeah, it would be a big problem. It would be not just for Damaron. It would be a big problem for anybody at 170 pounds to have a 6'4", 6'5".
Man, that's a big welterweight.
You know, throwing knees at you.
I mean, if that guy put on some sort of weight training regimen, he's fighting at 205, no problem. I wonder what he's cutting down from.
Easy. You know, he's a military guy. You know, Damaron, another little counter. I mean, Damaron's having success with just getting out of range and then returning.
And it's interesting you brought up about the UFC and the copywriting of the octagon. You know, they have a hexagon here. And also, in Japanese MMA, they have the ring. When you fought, what did you prefer to be inside of, the cage or the ring?
Again, depends on what your style is. I think any grappler prefers to be in a cage because you have the fence to use as a barrier.
Big right from Kirby. Big right from Kirby.
Having great success here, landing. And he's rocked Brandon several times.
And he's got a serious reach disadvantage, but you wouldn't be able to tell from the amount of leather that he's landing and how he's following it up.
I mean, and he's actually kneeing. He's pulling Brandon's head down and getting with the knees. So here, nice single leg.
Big long limbs are easier to grab.
Back into half guard. This time Brandon Mason on the bottom. So let's see how it goes. But getting back to what you had asked before, he always preferred the cage. It's better for fighter safety, too. you know, with the ring, people fall out all the time. And then with Pride and with Risen, and they have those restarts, when you get under the ropes, it's impossible to restart a guy in the same position.
And if you'd like to have a laugh at one of the darker days in MMA history, look up the Wama Pit Fighting Organization.
That was pretty crazy.
That was really bad when they had an angled edge to a pit to have guys.
Yama
Pit Fighting.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
I think Travis View won that tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think it might have been the only. Whoa, here we go.
6'5". Definitely, you're built for triangles.
Yes, he is. He's
doubt
getting
about
one
that. Which he has at the moment, and it's in fairly deep. Demaron
powering out of it, pushing that leg away and getting some side control.
You know, a thing people don't really realize, here's Brandon, long legs. Guys who have super long legs, at times it's harder for them to finish. And the reason being, their legs are so long, there's still room inside the triangle, even when they have their legs locked tight.
Ah, gotcha. Shorter muscular legs are going to clench quicker than these big, long spider limbs.
So there's little, well, it's easier for him to apply the triangle. The problem is, can he close the distance enough? Like, the compression with the triangle is from side to side. It's a blood choke. So by his legs being so long, it's like you can only get the knot so tight. So there's room inside of Brandon's legs, if that makes sense.
And just for a moment there, it looked like he was posturing up to try and go for an armbar.
Well, triangle and armbar go hand in hand. Brandon obviously has some submission skills there, so. All right, we'll go off the fence. Nice little trip by Brandon, puts Demaron on the mat. Demaron was quick to secure half. Nice teep here, boom, overhand right. Again, leaping in and trying to cover that distance. Nice kick to the body again. Demaron, tried to, return through 4, 2 connected. Need him. Again, staying aggressive. And look, man, Brandon really stays relaxed. But here we go. Nice triangle. But it's not, that leg needs to be straight across Demaron's back. Now as he cuts this angle, it got a little better, but again, there's a little bit of slack in there. There's some techniques you can do that will help you to tighten that triangle when you think it's on, but it's just, you still got a little room to kill.
The beginning of round 2, 170-pound welterweight fight, Shogun fights 18. I'm getting shades of a Stephen Struve versus a Pat Barrett.
Right.
One of the funnier MMA fights I've ever seen. The tallest versus the shortest. Not saying that Demaron Kirby is short by any means, but you see the height differential, which I also think about when it comes to throwing good body shots. You have to change level to throw something into the body, and you have to really change level when you're as tall as Brandon Mason is.
Yeah, well, they tell you when you strike. Like, he's kind of standing straight up and down. Almost any striking coach is going to tell him to bend at the knees a little bit more and make himself a little bit lower.
Ooh, big connection there from Kirby.
Yep, so that he can use his range even better.
Seeing a little bit of discoloration on the left side of the head from Mason, where some of those punches were connecting, and another one.
And Demaron throws another right hand, which is correct. If a guy's going to throw that heavy lead leg kick, you're countering with your right, with the right hand.
I'm thinking at this point, if I'm Brandon Mason, I want to get this to the ground and keep it there.
Yeah, I thought he had the advantage, even though he wasn't able to submit him. He was able to, he was able to attack from there.
And he looks active underneath.
He's looking for a sweep. He's trying to reverse from half. I'm seeing, in my opinion, a distinct strength advantage from Demaron. Brandon, right now, tries a hip-high sweep. Base is too good. Demaron keeps him there. Demaron's past the half. Like, in my opinion right now, like, Mr. Mason's legs are wide open. This is an opportunity for Demaron to pass and try and do damage. But if his plan is to ground and pound, maybe he doesn't want to pass. He just stays there in half, stays in guard. I wouldn't stay in this guy's guard, man. He's long, and when you think you're out of danger,
that leg swings around. The next thing you know, you're in a triangle or an
arm lock.
He's trying to bring that head down to close that distance so he can't continue.
That's it. Break his posture. And then on the way out one time, you're going to try to catch him in that intermediate position.
And I think you're right. It does look like Kirby's plan on the ground is just some ground and pound.
So you see that overhook. Normally, guys there working that overhook, a triangle's probably coming or a possible armbar. But usually you'll overhook that arm. Then you see how he's grabbing Demiron's left arm. He'll try to push that arm through, and then you're back on the triangle again, which he had secured earlier in the match, but it just didn't happen for him.
Coming up on the halfway point of this Shogun Fights welterweight matchup.
Arm lock coming.
Whoa.
Turned over on it too.
He does. He has that.
Get them knees tighter. Get them knees tighter.
You see Kirby holding on fist to fist, hand to hand for dear life, trying to not let that separation occur.
What Demiron should not have done was stood up, because he just extended his own arm. He wanted to actually, he needs to stack Brandon Mason up. He needs to keep all of his weight on him so that he can't extend the arm. So, Demiron made a tactical error by standing, because it's actually taking his weight off of Brandon, so now Brandon can try to focus all his leverage on that arm. Brandon needs to get his knees tighter.
Brandon does not want to let that go either.
Demiron just went in deeper for him. What he needs to do now is really he needs to turn him over. If I'm Brandon, he has the arm secured. He needs to take his arm and hook over. He's trying to grab the shin to do the same thing, but he needs to hook the leg, and he needs to roll towards Demiron's head, and now he'll be on top with the arm bar and Demiron on the bottom. It's hard to finish from here, because right now Demiron's doing what I said, and he's got his weight on the arm, so it's a little harder to straighten it. He should switch to a Kimura too right here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could pop that arm behind the back, you've got it.
Well, you switch to the Kimura, and then he's going to take the left leg, and he should step over Demiron's head and put it in the head.
He's wrenching it out of place. He's got it. The leg's over.
Remember I was saying to sweep him over? That's exactly what I was saying to do. Brandon wound up doing it and basically snatched the victory right there.
Absolutely. He was losing up until that scrum right there. Good for him. Let's get a look at Lexington National Instant Replay.
Guy showed great durability, great perseverance too, because he was getting hit here.
Man.
But you see how wide his knees are. There's really no pressure on him at this point.
Just eating shots to see to it that submission came through.
So he turned. All he needed to do early, take that left arm. Demiron helped him by going over the top, because that's what I was saying that Brandon needed to do, was hook the leg and then roll, which would initiate and get Demiron over, which now puts Brandon into the top position. So nice that he was able to follow Demiron and get the finish.
Ladies and gentlemen, your referee halts his bout at 4 minutes of the second round. Your winner by way of armbar, Brandon Skyscraper Mason. Here to present his award from Alliance Fire Protection is Leo Knott.
All right, coming up at Shogun Fights 18, there he is.